$1,000 for a ride, not for a ride. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. And today we're going to be counting down 10 points that you need to know before moving to Queensland. Now, Queensland's a very big place, but we have lived here for the last year and a half as two Brits who have moved from external to Australia. But fear not, this video isn't just about Brits moving. This is about other Australians from other states potentially moving to Queensland, along with other people from other countries. A lot of others in that sentence, isn't there? But if this is your kind of content and you do enjoy this and want to see more, be sure to subscribe, like the video, and let us know in the comment section what other videos you'd like to see us do.
Also, if you're a regular viewer of the channel, you'll know that we always have a bit of a mic placement prop holder. And with us being in Queensland, and you know, they're all classed as banana benders, this is as close as we could get to a banana today, because we don't have any bananas in the house, nor on the trees. So this is what we've got for today, guys.
It's a pretty good prop banana.
You never know what you're going to get with us, dear. So let's get right into point number one, which is the sunshine and the humidity. So here in southeast Queensland, on the Sunshine Coast, we get over 300 days of sunshine a year. Now that's a lot of sunshine. But with that, between December and February comes a lot of humidity and a lot of wet days. So it can be quite exhausting.
Yes.
It can make you feel quite tired very early. So if you are, say, planning work, we try to do as much in the morning as we possibly can. And so do a lot of other Queenslanders. Because in the morning, it's not as hot. It doesn't tend to rain. The rain and the storms come later in the day. Yep. So you can get a lot more done. And one for other Aussies are the UV levels. They're so high, especially during that December to February period. Isn't it like off the scale most of the time? Yeah, so I don't know the exact name for the scale of UV. I'm just guessing it's the UV levels. And I know that in a lot of the days during the summer here in Queensland, and this is southeast Queensland. Queensland, it's the accent keeps coming in. I'm trying to say Queensland, say it the correct way. A lot of the time on that scale, in those summer days, it's the same for a lot of Australia, but maybe definitely coming from outside of Australia need to take the sun seriously and the UV levels, as during the summers it's not uncommon, even in southeast Queensland, to see it past 10 up to the 12s, sometimes even into the 14s. If you're going up to North Queensland, you're looking at your Cairns. Don't be shocked if you're seeing it past that, like 14. I've never seen it at 15, but I wouldn't be shocked if it can go even higher. People have told us how hot it's got in Australia, but what area and what level did it get to where was the max on the UV levels? I know what the max was in my town back in the UK. Go on. So the highest it ever got in Wigan was 6. I don't think that's the lowest it's ever been. It's a very good point. In Australia. It's a very good point. But yeah, I do agree with what you've just said. I think like the locals are very smart about where they park, where they sit, where they walk, what times of day they're doing it. They're very particular about how they do those things because you need to be very sun smart. It's smart to be. The next point on the list is the housing and rental market crunch. One area that we have definitely seen it just go off the scale in comparison to when we moved over from the UK, and that is the housing market. Whether you're buying or renting, it is astronomical in southeast Queensland. I believe that the average house price in Brisbane has just crossed the $1 million price bracket, which is astonishing. And I don't think it'd be too different for southeast Queensland in general, whether you're looking at the Gold Coast, Moreton Bay, or even up to the Sunshine Coast. All these areas are pretty high now for buying a house price. At a minimum, you're looking at around about $1 million. And the same for anybody who is looking to get a house on the rental market. So those are definitely expats from other countries coming over looking at getting a rental property. The prices and just the availability can sometimes really shock people. We were speaking to somebody the other day who's come from another country, and they were saying that they're really struggling to find a property that is a reasonable price. And I believe that they were a doctor and a pharmacist, or a nurse and a pharmacist, who've come over from another country and were struggling to get a property within budget. So this is something that if you are coming from another country, please do consider. Look at the market,
and understand it before you come here. Brief intermission as we had a quick chat to our landlord. Quite ironic that we were on the point of talking about housing, rentals and buying. And on that point, one thing that nearly caught us off guard as well when we came over was getting a rental resume. So this is just showing that you've had previous properties where you've rented to show that you are somebody that is all right to get into a house. You're not going to trash the place and throw a party like a Slipknot music video.
So point number 3 is more for people that are living outside of Australia, but it's realising the sheer size of Queensland. It is huge. It's 5 times bigger than Japan and 7 times bigger than the UK. Just Queensland alone is 7 times bigger than the UK. So when we say we live in Queensland and we get people from the UK messaging us about certain weather patterns thinking that we're experiencing it, yeah, it's quite a little bit different sometimes. Little bit different. A prime example of this would be if you've just moved to Brisbane and you're thinking, Great Barrier Reef is in Queensland, I want to go for a day trip. It's a 13-hour drive or a 2-hour plane journey. So you might need to put aside a little bit more time for that trip.
Point number 4 is free ambulances. Now, this is specifically for people who are already Australian citizens, not people who are travelling over on working holiday visas. For example, we're on a working holiday visa, so we would not qualify for this perk. But if you are an Australian and you move to the state of Queensland, the state actually covers the cost of the ambulance. In comparison to other states, I believe from our research, it can cost you upwards of around about $1,000 for a ride. Not for a ride. People don't tend to hire them like an Uber, but yeah, if you needed it and you needed the ride to the hospital, then that could cost you in other states around about $1,000. But apparently, from what we've seen in Queensland research, it would actually be free and covered by the state. So yeah, there's a perk. Did you Aussies watching know about that?
Point number 5 is the Go card and the 50-cent fares. So buses, trains and city cats are all integrated together, and I think it's just 50 cent for a ride. So for example, we went from Nambour to Brisbane and it cost us 50 cent. That's like insanely cheap. Like in the UK, if we wanted to get on a train from Manchester to London, you're talking 200 sterling at minimum. That's easy. Like $400 easy, just casually, just to get to London. Not a sponsor, but when we got the train, you did need to download the TransLink app. So I think you actually need to use that app to use any of the public transport and to make it clear on the routes and stuff. So bear that in mind if you are wanting to use the public transport.
The next point on the list is going to be wildlife reality versus myths. Now, if you're moving to Queensland from external to Australia and you're not a big fan of snakes, maybe not the state or territory for you. Then again, Australia is probably not the country for you, as there is an abundance of snakes. We've spoke to some Australians, for example, some of the guys who comment on our videos, and maybe they've lived in cities all their lives, but they've said they've never seen snakes at all, in comparison to us living here in the Sunshine Coast for about a year and a half, maybe a bit longer now. And in that time, we've probably seen around about 12 to 13 snakes. So they are around. We do a lot of nature walks. We do see them around a lot more than somebody maybe living in Brisbane city centre. The same goes for kangaroos and other animals that you do see an abundance of. So if you're not a big fan of nature, maybe not the state for you. But jumping away from southeast Queensland and travelling up a little bit north, you do want to be careful of certain areas. For example, as soon as you hit Croc Country, you really need to be aware of any body of water you're climbing into. Even if you're inland, don't mistake it if there's no signs or people aren't in the water saying, yep, this is fine, you can jump in here and go for a swim. Don't go swimming, it's serious. There are actual crocodiles in the water, it's not just for jokes. The same goes for October to May in far north Queensland. That is stinger season, which means the jellyfish are out in abundance. None more scary, in my opinion, than the irukandji. The idea that this tiny little thing can be so deadly and so scary. It's a very tiny, small, invisible, some people say, jellyfish. So to go out swimming at that time of year in far north Queensland would be a little bit risky. So be wary if you're not aware of it.
Number 7 is talking about the early bird culture. Now here in Queensland, we don't have daylight saving hours, so they do run on a little bit of a different clock. In the summer, the sun can be up from 4 4:45 in the morning, and you'll see everybody actively out running, walking the dogs, going to the coffee shops. Life is just busy, like as if it's like 9 a.m. And then there's actually a little bit of a downturn probably around the time we go out, which is like 8, 9 o'clock, because everyone's already got half the day done, which is a smart way of doing things. One, because of the sun. Things keep interrupting our filming session today. We just picked the wrong time to film, guys. But anyway, moving back onto my point, as we said, it's really important that you beat the heat. So doing everything super early in the morning. I've never known a country to do everything so early in the morning. It's very different to Europe in particular, where everything's kind of a little bit more night owly. You do a lot more at night.
Point number 8 is make sure you choose your vibe correctly. Basically, pick the right suburb. For anybody looking for a little bit more of a bustling, busy lifestyle in the city, Brisbane has got to be the main spot people are looking at in Queensland. So whether that's coming with the job opportunities, just the bustling lifestyle, you don't mind living in an apartment in the city, Brisbane's got to be the main spot that people are looking at if they are planning on moving to Queensland. The Gold Coast is a bit more lively, I think is the term to say, but it's got more of the nightlife. I think I've heard a few Aussies say it's kind of Australia's Las Vegas-y vibe of an evening. For us personally, it's a great spot to go and visit, but wouldn't be our cup of tea to live there. But saying that, there are a few suburbs outside of the main surfers' paradise that are some gorgeous spots and don't give off that same lively energy. So again, it's looking at the suburbs within these areas. Maybe the Gold Coast for work, but then you live in a suburb just outside of the hustle and bustle. Then our personal favourite, which is the Sunshine Coast. For anybody who doesn't know, it's where we live. There is actually a storm a brewing, so it's not too sunshiny at the moment, but it's a little bit more of a relaxed pace. It's perfect for families, I would say. From my experience, this is one of the best spots for raising kids, whether that's just the availability of parks, the lifestyle, the culture. For me, I think that's one of the great things. We don't have kids, apart from the little fur baby, but yeah, he can't really go and play on the parks, but I'd say that is the lifestyle that the sunny coast brings. Then moving up to places like Cairns and Townsville, it's a lot more tropical up that way, a lot more slower pace of life, but I believe that property is a little bit cheaper out there. So for somebody looking to maybe purchase or retire, I know that is a place that a lot of people go to enjoy the winters in a hotter climate, and then they move back down south to somewhere in the summer, as the humidity and the hot summers can be a little bit too much up north, but they enjoy the winters up there. Now, of course, there are a lot more areas. I've just tried summarising 4 points for the video, but there are a lot more inland. There's a lot more areas and territories that you could live in, but obviously this video would be 3 hours long if I tried naming every area. But yeah, let me know any in the comment section I might have missed.
So point number 9 is the work culture and slang is extremely different from where we've come from in particular, but I know it's also very different from places like Sydney. So up here, people are definitely, even in when they're being professional and they're at work, they're definitely more relaxed. They'll call you mate. Just everyone seems a lot more bubbly, friendly. They might be wearing clothes that are a lot more relaxed, whereas I feel like in some areas, in say Sydney as an example, people tend to be a little bit more uptight. I feel like everyone's a little bit more stressed, kind of a bit in the rat race with work, whereas up here in particular you definitely don't feel that as much. So yeah, that's something that we really recognise, and I think you will 100% recognise that if you are coming from another country. But again, even if you are moving up from down south up to Queensland, something that I feel like you will notice. Of course, this is a very regional point. We are here on the Sunshine Coast. When we went to Brisbane for Joel to do an exam, he actually went in thongs, which is a little bit crazy. He was the only person in the city in thongs. So I think when you do move here, you get very, very relaxed, almost too relaxed, I think.
Carry on the points. The last point on the list is point number 10, and that is the Olympics in 2032 and the tailwind that comes with that. This might be more visible in the city in Brisbane in the upcoming years, but it is also going to be visible all the way up to the Sunshine Coast, as the Brisbane Olympic Games will also be taking place all the way up to the Sunshine Coast from what I've read. This does mean that anybody who isn't particularly fond of roadworks or construction, this might not be the spot for you to be considering at the moment, because at the moment there is a lot of that taking place. A lot of road closures, a lot of single lane closures down to single lanes as maybe motorways are being modernised, extended, maybe resurfaced, ready for the Olympic Games, and also just the tourism boom that comes with these events.
So that has been 10 of our points. We could have definitely extended this video, but let us know what other points you think should have made this list, and maybe there could be a part 2. We always say this and then there's never a part 2, but I would love to know if you guys would like to see a part 2, because we love to discuss these kind of points. Very, very interesting. But we just want to say a big thank you to the members. You guys have been amazing. All your names are on the screen right now. Thank you, thank you, thank you from the 3 of us. And we just want to say thank you to anybody that has bought a shirt over from the Venture Club website. That is our clothing line. For anybody that doesn't know, we have recently just released our caps as well. And we didn't really promote them because we just stuck them on there. And then a lot of you have been like, oh my gosh, the caps are here. That's amazing. And yeah, so really, really good to see. So thank you very much to everyone that has bought one of them. And we will see you in the next video. Bye.
Adios.